I'm going to show you how to fry crispy, delicious fish and discuss why tilapia is a great option to use. Some people may say that tilapia is a garbage fish because it's farm raised. I don't have a problem buying it as long as it is responsibly sourced. When I buy it in a frozen bag, I check the back to see where it is distributed from and where it is a product of. I don't buy fish that is a product of China because things I've heard about their fish farming practices. I love buying fresh fish from Publix seafood counter. It is responsibly sourced, fresh, never frozen, and a product of Colombia. Seasonings I'm going to use are very basic: onion powder, garlic powder, a seafood seasoning. I'm an Old Bay girl. Then I'm going to show you two ways to coat it, one using eggs, one using yellow mustard. Then I always use yellow cornmeal and all-purpose flour for my breading. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my fish and inspect it, and I do rinse it off. It's probably not necessary, but I rather be over clean than under clean. It's my personal preference. Someone commented on a previous video of mine with me cleaning meat saying that I seem obsessive about it, and I completely am. It's the reason I rarely eat out at restaurants. I've seen some people and some things in restaurants that make me lose my appetite and not even order their food. I had to just leave. So here I am. I am drying off my fish thoroughly, starting by putting a thin layer of onion powder on this side of the fillets. I don't have an exact measurement. You just want a light coating of the seasoning you like that doesn't contain sodium or pepper. I also did a light coating of garlic powder, and then I am doing some seafood seasoning, but not a lot because the first ingredient is usually always salt and seafood and Cajun seasoning. So be restrictive with that a bit. I do flip my fish over, and now I'm going to add seasonings to the second side, but I'm going to do some slightly different seasonings just to incorporate more flavor. So first, I did cover it with onion powder again because I know I like that. On this side, I did add a little bit of black pepper because I know I like it, but I didn't want to add too much heat because my family doesn't like that. So next up, I am going to add my two binders to two separate bowls. So in one bowl, I added some yellow mustard. I don't recommend using grain mustard because it kind of cakes up in a different kind of way than plain yellow mustard on the fish. And in the second bowl, I added two eggs. If you use less fish or more fish, you may need to adjust the amount of eggs you use. And then I give the eggs a quick stir. I did add some of my Old Bay seasoning to each, just a couple of pinches to each is what I would say. Not even a full teaspoon because of the salt. So I did put on a glove because I have on some pretty press-on nails and I didn't want to get them too gunked up with stuff underneath them. So I'm adding mustard to my fish, and you can see why I recommended not using a grainy mustard. Although I love it and it's delicious in other applications, for this fish, I want to get a smooth coating on the fish so that I can get a smooth surface to put my breading on that I'm going to add later. So that's why I recommend plain yellow mustard in this case. And we're going to let our fish sit in the bowl with the mustard until we add our breading mixture. Next up, I put on a clean glove and I am adding some fish to my seasoned egg mixture. Some people may be allergic to mustard, so that could be a reason to use egg. Some people may be allergic to egg, and that's why they use mustard instead. Egg is increasingly expensive, so I probably won't use it in the future to bread my eggs. I'm doing both in this video as an experiment to show you how the final result will come out for both, and I'll let you know which one I prefer. But both are equally delicious and they work, so you can do whatever you want. I'm just showing you different options. For my breading mixture, I have a big clean bowl. I like to put for my fish 2 cups of all-purpose flour and 1 cup of yellow cornmeal. If you have more fish, I would say use 2 cups of flour and 2 cups of yellow cornmeal. I also season this with garlic powder, onion powder, about a tablespoon of each, and then 2 teaspoons of my seafood seasoning, and then I give that a mix with my beautiful wooden fork. I love wooden spoons and bowls. It's just kind of nice. It reminds me of my childhood and family members that used to use it. So be sure to thoroughly mix the seasonings into the flour cornmeal mixture and then lay in your fish and gently pat the seasoned flour cornmeal onto each piece. Now, I personally like to keep my fish laying in the cornmeal flour mixture for at least 10 minutes before I drop it into my hot oil. That's my personal preference. I tend to notice after 10 minutes some of the mixture absorbs into the fish and I need to pat more into it. And that's the way I ensure I have a crispy crust that doesn't slide off my fish when it's cooking. So I put in a few pieces of my egg battered fish on the right hand side into the flour. Now on the left hand side on your screen, I am putting the mustard battered fish. And I'm just adding the mixture on top and gently patting it into the fish. Let me know down in the comments what your favorite binder to use is when you're making fried fish. Some people may use milk. I'm interested to know. I like to have a cookie sheet set up on the side that's covered by a rack. And then I put a paper towel over the cookie sheet but under the rack. So when I put my fried fish on the rack, it can drip down on the cutting board. Now I fry my fish in canola oil and I fry it in a shallow fry pan as well as a deep wok or an electric deep fryer. You can use any one that you want, and I'll show you a couple of different options in this video. So you want to put enough oil in the pan to come up at least a third of the way or halfway, and I end up using just about all of this 48-ounce bottle. And then I have it on a medium-high heat and I let it come up till it starts bubbling. You'll notice I didn't use a thermometer. I'm just going by sight and I'll adjust temperature as I need to as it cooks. So it's been over 10 minutes of this fish sitting in the flour cornmeal mixture. And then I lay in enough pieces to make my pot full but not overcrowded. Now, it has been cooking and look at how it looks. This fish has cooked about 12 minutes. 6 minutes on each side. If you feel the need to flip it, like I do sometimes, if you have enough oil, then you may not even need to flip your fish because it can cook completely on both sides. But look at how it looks so beautiful and golden. I don't add salt afterwards because this tilapia is a thin white fish. After being fried, it is firm on the inside, but it is still thin. So I don't feel the need to add more salt because the pre-seasonings added enough sodium for me, but you can taste a piece and see what you feel like you want to add. The four pieces in the center were the ones covered in mustard. They are a bit more golden than the ones that were covered in egg. I like the mustard taste slightly better as well, but it's not a huge noticeable difference. This is my cast iron wok that I use on my electric stove top. I also have an electric deep fryer, but I'm not using that today because it takes so much oil. So here you'll notice I just used the bit of oil that I had saved in a canister to the side. I did fry fish in this previously one time. I only reuse grease one time, and if I make fish the first time, I don't use it the second time for chicken. Fish with fish grease, chicken with chicken grease. That's how I do it. So I let that oil come up to temperature. It needs to be warm enough to have a little sizzle when I drop in my fish. But notice how this fish, it looks like the flour and cornmeal has melted away or has been fully absorbed into it. This is why I let it sit in this mixture for a good 10 minutes so that I can pat more onto it to create that crispy coating that I want. So now that my oil has been heating up on medium heat for several minutes, I added in my fish and you can see within just a few minutes, it is sizzling up something nice. And so you can notice in this deeper wok how the fish will float to the top when it's finished cooking. You won't always see that if you use a shallow fry pan, but look at that, y'all. Look at that crispiness. This is something amazing. You absolutely want to mix cornmeal and flour. If you wanted to put in a little cornstarch, you could, but it's not required. But look at how delicious this fish looked. Absolutely amazing. You could do the same thing with catfish or whiting fish or even perch. Let me know down in the comments, what is your favorite white fish to fry? Now, when I cook mine, I do like to add some hot sauce. So I have Frank's Red Hot and Texas Pete. I like both and I just drizzle it on. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my channel.